1991 was the year Kenyans witnessed what came to be known as the Second Liberation, when sustained pressure from political dissidents and the international community finally forced President Daniel Arap Moi to introduce reforms in the hitherto repressive one-party regime. In April, Charles Rubia, one of the leaders who had been detained the previous year for opposing the ruling and sole party KANU, was released. In May, Moi replaced Attorney General Justice Matthew Guy Mulley, who had been associated with some of his government's more repressive measures. He appointed a lawyer in private practice and former chairman of the Law Society of Kenya, Amos Wako, to Mulley's job. Barely a month after Wako took over, Raila Odinga, who had been detained soon after the failed coup attempt of 1982, and Kenneth Matiba, who was detained the same day as Rubia for opposing KANU's one-party rule, were set free. That same month, Moi prevailed upon KANU to discard the controversial queue voting system and the 70% nominations rule that had been used in the 1988 general election. The new developments would prompt opposition leaders Oginga Odinga, Masinde Muliro and Martin Shikuku to launch what they called the Forum for the Restoration of Democracy, FORD. They would be joined later by Kenneth Matiba and Charles Rubia, but the government refused to register FORD as a party because constitutionally, Kenya was still a one-party state. These changes took place even as the Judicial Commission, chaired by Justice Evan Gisheru, that Moi had appointed the previous year to investigate the murder of Foreign Affairs Minister Robert Ouko, continued to hold hearings in Kisumu. In November, Britain's Scotland Yard detective John Troon, who had investigated Ouko's murder, told Gisheru's commission that two of Moi's top government men, Minister for Industry Nicholas Biwott and Permanent Secretary in the Office of the President in charge of Internal Security and Provincial Administration, Hezekiah Oyugi, needed to be probed over the murder. Moi reacted by sacking Biwott and Oyugi. A week later, though, he dissolved Gisheru's commission and ordered Police Commissioner Philip Kilonzo to open a fresh inquiry into Ouko's murder. This was despite the fact that Troon had claimed that Kilonzo and his force had put obstacles in Scotland Yard's investigation the previous year. Biwott and Oyugi were held in police custody for a number of days for questioning, but later released for lack of any incriminating evidence. Like Troon's team and Gisheru's commission, Kilonzo's investigators would come up with no clue as to who killed Ouko. Moi succeeded in turning the attention of Kenyans away from the Ouko affair when in December he got Parliament to amend the constitution, scrapping Section 2A that made Kenya a one-party state. This opened up the way for the registration of opposition parties, including FORD. On New Year's Eve, a new opposition party came into being, the Democratic Party of Kenya, led by Mwai Kibaki, after he had resigned from his cabinet post as Minister for Health. 1991 was the year Kenyans witnessed one of the most shocking incidents ever to happen since independence, when boys at St. Kizito's Mixed High School in Meru went berserk and raped more than 70 girls, leaving nearly 20 of them dead. In sports, the only major international victory by a Kenyan that year was Ibrahim Hussein's victory in the Boston Men's Marathon. In 1991, Kenyans said farewell to Court of Appeals Justice James Nyarangi. Kenyan Asian freedom fighter Jasbai Motibai Desai, former Mombasa Town Clerk Nathan Adembesa, Turkana Central MP and Assistant Minister for Cooperative Development Peter Ejore, and former MPs Shadrach Okova of Lurambi and Tom Okello Odongo of Kisumu Rural.